tonight's a big night. Polling locations are open till 7:30. So if you've not made it out yet, you still have an hour and a half to get out. Some important issues on the ballot. So don't forget to vote. Clearly, we've seen last time, every vote matters. So get out and vote. We all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Grigsby. Here. Mrs. McCarthy.
Here.
Mrs. Saxon.
Here.
Mrs. Tamira.
Here.
Mr. Vaca.
Here. Finalization of the agenda. Is there anything to add or remove?
The agenda is final as presented.
Awesome. Move right into the superintendent treasurer's report.
Excellent. Tonight we have a very exciting presentation by Ms. Jackie Vance from our Student Services Department. Our special education ratings were just recently released, and she would like to share all of that with you.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
This should be a brief report. I am excited to present this information to you. Annually, the state of Ohio releases 2 reports to us. They release a special education rating and then a special education profile. So the one that has been released to us is the rating, and so most of this information is related to compliance. Within this report, the rating is based entirely on compliance indicators. It's nothing directly related really to student growth measures, assessments, things along that piece. It's based on 21-22 data, so it's always generally 2 years behind. There's 2 indicators, which is indicator 1, which is the graduation rate, and indicator 2, which is the dropout rate, that are reported, and I will share it with you, but it is not counted currently in this year's calculation. That's coming for 2024. So always something exciting to look forward to. So as you can see, I am happy to announce that we meet requirements, and that is basically the best you can do. And then the best part of it is it says required actions, none. Typically, if there are concerns with your rating or your profile, required actions would include a corrective action plan. So I'm going to do a brief overview. There's a total of 28 potential points that you can get overall. And you can see North Ridgeville received 27 points. We had 7 indicators met. And then the average of a 3.86, which is meeting the requirement. Within this report, oh, I went one too far. Okay, I'm sure it's hard for you guys to see it now that I'm looking at this from very far away, so I apologize. Yeah, I'm so glad I printed this out for myself. Not that I have old eyes or anything like that, but so the first, I'm going to go through and I'm going to tell you just a little snippet of what each one does. I can tell you right now, I cannot present this rating to you without the work of many people. One of the people being my administrative assistant, Sarah Scott, previously Mary Gorski. The amount of data entry that they have to do and being accurate with their data entry is incredible. In addition to that, Brittany Cicchetti with EMIS and working with us to ensure that our information is correct. She, over the last year, purchased a new program through PowerSchool. It's called CrossCheck, and it picks up errors or anything that potentially looks like it could potentially be flagged. So that has been very helpful. And then obviously the coordinators who work alongside myself and our teachers, ensuring that we are in compliance. Everything that we do in my world generally is compliance. It has deadlines, you know, it has a lot of legal ramifications that are related to it. And so for that piece, I'm incredibly grateful. So the first indicator that they review is disproportionality and identification. So are we over identifying students in specific areas, whether it's speech language impairment, SLD, autism, other health impairment, any number of the categories that are outlined there. And we were shown as not being an area of concern. We earned our full 4 points. Timely initial evaluations. Whenever a parent requests or we determine to do an initial evaluation, we have 3 timelines that we have to follow. 30 days in which we respond to a request, 60 days in which we complete the evaluation, and then 30 days after that to complete the IEP. So everything has to align with that. It counts calendar days, so it's not school days, which is another factor. So when we get evaluations that occur in the month of December and January, they're not always something that we get super excited about in around spring break because we lose those times. But again, 100%, we had 86 initial evals last year. Our early childhood transition, Part C to Part B, that is another one that has some additional timelines that are included, and that's when our students are coming from early intervention, or formerly known as Help Me Grow, and then transitioning to preschool services, and we also earned 4 points on that. Okay. The next one is secondary transition. So all students are required at the age of 14 to have secondary transition plans, and we had 102 completed. That is how many we needed to have in place, and so we got 4 points for that. Timely correction of non-compliance. So anytime that the state comes to us and they see something that maybe doesn't look correct, or they find an error, you have so much time to respond and implement correction action plans for that. And luckily, we had no late or uncorrected findings. Timely and accurate data. You'll see there's points are 3. I will tell you that this is a reflection of one typo. A date, and it actually came with a preschool student. The date was entered 1 day more. It was supposed to be 15 and it was entered as 16. So the simplest error of a typo also required us to do a corrective action plan, and 1 error goes from 4 points to 3 points. 2 errors would take us right down to 2. So that is how highly accurate the information has to be that's coming from our office and that we're entering into the Ohio State or the EMIS program. IDEA audit findings, we had no audits, thank you. So as a result of that, no audits, so we get the 4 points. So that was really helpful. The final is these 2 that they had indicated that currently are not counted, but you can see that we have for our graduation indicator, we had 29 students with disabilities that graduated with a regular high school diploma. You'll see there are a total of students with disabilities exited was 33. You may say to yourself, why are those numbers not aligning? The reason why it's not aligning is because we have several students that go beyond 12th grade. It's called 12 plus, and we are obligated and have the opportunity to provide services to students up until their 22nd birthday. But if they do not graduate with their cohort, then there is, they do not count in our graduation counts, which is unfortunate, but we're still within reason, so not a concern at this time. And then the final is percentages of students that drop out. It happens. We have it happen at this, during that year, we had 3 students that were on IEPs that had dropped out. So the final piece, just to let you know, is that the next release that we'll have comes in December. I always call it my Christmas gift before we go on winter break. The Ohio Department of Education releases their special education profiles. Within that, they'll talk a little bit more about student growth and compliance around social emotional learning. It also will look at our participation for the alternate assessment and how many students. We can only have 1% or less of our students participate in the alternate assessment, and also their progress on those assessments. In addition to that, it also looks at least restrictive environments, how we're servicing our students, even within North Ridgeville City Schools, how much access time do they have to typical peers versus not being with typical peers and or in separate facilities. And then finally, it will also look at discipline and disproportionality, specifically of our students receiving discipline that are on IEPs. So in summary, that's what I have for you, which is all good news. And I'm proud to share that information with you. And if you have any questions, let me know.
Thank you.
Great report.
Thank you.
So John, to you and your staff.
Thanks.
That concludes the superintendent's report.
Awesome. We'll move right into the education report. Mr. Tamira. Oh, wait, my bad. For the record, there's nobody here that can just, but we will have hearing of the public, so now's your opportunity to come up. And do we have any announcements? I always forget that. It's right there too, big old letters. Any announcements? Well, again, it is election night and now you have an hour and 20 minutes. Get out and vote. All right, now, Ms. Tamira, we're ready for you. Pretty sure.
Fantastic. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the supervised overnight field trip for North Ridgeville High School American Sign Language classes to travel to Washington, D.C. and Gallaudet University for college visit. This trip is set for March 3rd, 2024 through March 5th, 2024. This is the first reading for this item. The second reading and consideration for approval will be at our November 12th regular meeting.
Communications report, Mr. Grigsby.
Mr. Monka, it is recommended that the Board of Education accept the following gifts with appreciation. A donation of $2,250 was donated by the NRHS Athletic Boosters to purchase basketball jerseys and practice jerseys for the high school basketball team. Donation of $590 was donated by the NRHS Athletic Boosters to purchase wrestling singlets for the high school wrestling team. $541.40 was donated by the Athletic Boosters to purchase 2 cheer megaphones and 2 cheer flags for the high school cheer team. And $200 was donated by the North Ridgeville Art Council to the North Ridgeville High School Drama Club. $100 was donated by Exhibit Style to the North Ridgeville Student Services to be utilized for the Able Not Label program. $50 was donated by the Lock Salon to the North Ridgeville Student Services to be utilized for the Able Not Label program. And 27 Homer buckets were donated by the Home Depot of Elyria to Ranger High Tech Academy students to be used in need. And we thank our community for the tremendous support of our schools and students.
Thank you. Good question. Homer buckets, is that just a 5-gallon bucket? Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know it had a name.
Homework, oh, that's
Yeah.
the big orange.
Understood.
It's the dude with the hat.
All right. Buildings and operations report. There are 2 items to consider under the buildings and operations report. The first is the approval of a bid from Nick Abraham Ford to purchase a maintenance vehicle for the district. Second is the approval of a property easement between North Ridgeville City Schools and the Hope for Souls Ministries. This is the first reading for this item. The second reading and consideration for approval will be at the November 12th regular meeting. Human Resources Report, Ms. Saxon.
Yes, we have a number of items in the Human Resources Report. 2 NREA supplemental contracts, 1 non-NREA supplemental contract, 4 hourly tutor contracts, 2 unpaid volunteer recognitions, 1 certified staff adjustment, 1 support staff adjustment, 1 supervisor leave of absence, 2 certified staff resignations, 1 supervisor resignation, 1 support staff resignation. This is the first reading for these items. The second reading and consideration for approval will be at the November 12th regular meeting. This concludes the Human Resource Report.
Who's that? Human Resource Report. So we're gonna go right into the next one. Ms.
Great.
Saxon.
Yes, well, we have a few more items in the Human Resources Report. We have 4 support staff appointments, 1 support staff substitute contract. I move to approve the Human Resources items in 1 reading.
Moved by Ms. Saxon, second by Ms. Tamira. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Saxon,
Yes,
Mrs. Tamira,
Yes.
Mr. Grigsby, Yes. Mrs. McCarthy,
Yes.
Mr. Bach.
Yes. It is recommended that the Board of Education enter into executive session to discuss the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, compensation of public employees and matters related to negotiations of public employees. There will be no action to follow.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Tamira, second by Ms. McCarthy. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Tamira,
Yes.
Mrs. McCarthy,
Yes.
Mr. Grigsby,
Yes.
Mrs. Saxon,
Yes.
Mr. Vaca.
Yes. Again, one last time, folks, tonight's a very important night for North Ridgeville City Schools. So I encourage you, if you've not made it to the polls yet, or taken advantage of one of the many opportunities to vote, every vote truly does matter. So please get to the polls before 7:30 and make your vote count. Thank you.